All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Always good to be back, especially on a sunny day like this.
Yes.
So we take that as a enduring sign of God's presence for sure. So, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience. So this is something that we hear a lot, especially in Unity, that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So that also means we're spiritual beings having a material experience. And we're spiritual beings having a physical experience in these physical bodies that we have. I also like to think we're spiritual beings having a planetary experience. And the theme of my talk today is around spiritual beings having a national experience. And we're gathered here having this experience in a country called the United States of America. And we regard this country, this land, to be a place of liberty. And we regard ourselves as free, enjoying a God-given right of freedom. And we hold sacred, and there's a book that came out about almost 30 years ago called American Scripture. It was all about how the Declaration of Independence is actually revered so deeply that it's regarded as American Scripture. So we hold sacred this belief that as Americans, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, as Americans, we also have a strong, some might even say an obsessive, national identity. We actually pledge allegiance to the flag. We all remember the Pledge of Allegiance. I remember in school saying this for years. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I found it interesting. There was an item that I'd seen on a news program a couple months back saying that Americans' allegiance to the flag is something that no other country has. That we revere that piece of cloth with the stars and stripes on it. It's so sacred that no other country does this. It's a uniquely an American thing to hold the flag with that kind of reverence. So the Pledge of Allegiance certainly affirms that. Now, even the old idea, the American idea of the melting pot, it serves to erase any notion that American citizens ever had other origins. Right? Think of it, a melting pot. You put all the ingredients in and then it just becomes one. So a couple examples of that were, people who came to this country generations ago would Americanize their names. Right? So this even happened in my own family. On my mom's side, my grandfather, the last name was Bicky. So my great-grandfather came from Poland. His name's Bicky. And then my grandfather and his siblings, and most of them had changed their name from Bicky to Wereback. So it's to Americanize it. And several years ago when I was working in banking, I worked in Ravenswood in Chicago, and Ravenswood's definitely a melting pot. It's a very diverse neighborhood. So, and I think literally among the bank staff, everyone spoke up to collectively 15 languages. That's how diverse that neighborhood was. And yet, I remember a Chinese man coming in to open a bank account, and he had changed his name upon being granted citizenship. He changed his name to Charles Aim High, a very American name. And even Barbara Marx Hubbard, who I worked with, said that she asked her father when she was a kid, where does our family come from? And his only answer to her was, you're an American, do your best. So in numerology, the date July 4th, 1776, 7/4/1776, reduces to the number 5. So the birth date of the United States of America reduces to the number 5. And that gives the United States of America a number 5 life path. Now the number 5 is associated with attributes such as change, freedom, hard work, indulgence, and innovation. Now it was rumored, I heard this from a Unity minister, it was it was rumored that Charles Fillmore was asked how he came up with the name for the movement Unity. And he said, well, really what I should have named it was change, because we're always in a state of change. And we derive and we are inspired and we continue to evolve and to grow and to innovate because the truth is that there's always change. Now, I don't know if that story is true or not, but it certainly makes a lot of sense. America, of course, also has a complex relationship with the divine, or with God. In the Declaration of Independence, it refers to our, quote, assuming among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle Americans. So right there in the Declaration of Independence, we talk, there's the laws of nature and nature's God. As well, it refers to, quote, being endowed by our Creator with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, unquote, which I already referenced. And then in the U.S. Constitution, in one of the articles, it says, quote, that we're appealing to the supreme judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions. And yet, despite these references to God, the divine, the supreme judge, yet despite all of that, we practice and we've indeed legislated separation of church and state in this country. And in the First Amendment, we say, or it's written that Congress cannot make a law prohibiting the free exercise of religion or how we worship God. As well, that, quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. And yet, despite that, most presidents of the United States are sworn into office making the statement, quote unquote, so help me God. And then, of course, in God we trust is engraved on all of our currency. So you don't have to look very far to see how there's this tension of believing in God and then the freedom not to believe in God should people choose not to. And we have this tension in this country of our belief and how we reconcile our belief with how we practice our worship and our religion or not. And of course, you don't have to look very far on social media or even the media in general for examples of how each citizen believes he and she is certain in their knowledge of God's will in American law and affairs. So what is God's will for the United States of America? And, or what is God's will for the world, for that matter? Well, is the human experience ever static? Is it ever unchanging? Right? And I've referred to America having a 5 life path, which is all about change. And of course, are we evolving or are we devolving as a species? And either way, is evolution or devolution static? Are we fixed? Are we born endowed with all wisdom, knowledge, and skills and a fully developed brain and body out of the womb? No, we grow. You know, some would even say that we start with a blank slate, and that we grow physically and we grow mentally, as well as spiritually. And how about our beliefs in spirituality? So, for example, how you found unity and how I found unity. Now, some people, I can count probably on one hand how many people that I know actually grew up in unity from the time they were a child to the present. Most people I know in unity came from another religious background, Christian, Jewish, etc. So that's to say that we evolve in our own spirituality, if we use that as an example, that we grow and that we discern and we make judgments for ourselves about where we fit spiritually in the world. So are we set in stone or are we complex beings? So you think about statues, right? Statues are inanimate objects made of stone or metal, and they're shaped and they're created and they exist as they exist. And we as human beings aren't statues. And we're born, we grow, we evolve, we change. We change our minds. It's one of the things that Charles Fillmore was really very adamant about, is that we are endowed with the ability and the right and the agency to change our minds. So we're not statues, we're conscious organisms. Old ideas of American liberty would have us stay stuck in originalism. And originalism is this idea that the founding fathers, whatever they wrote in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, whatever their original ideas are the things that we should continue to regard as we go forward in the life of this country. And of course, if we evolve and we change, there's no way we can continue to be original in that sense. Because originalism is going to change and evolve just as we change and evolve with every generation, and indeed within our own lifetimes. So, and as well, old ideas of God would have us stuck in the Old Testament. And even the Old Testament discussed the coming of Christ. So the Old Testament knew it was going to, and of course it wasn't called the Old Testament at the time, but the old scriptures knew and predicted a time when there would be a new way of worshiping, a new way of being spiritual, a new way of evolving. So we are here right now, whether as Americans or earthlings, as I like to say, because if we're planetary beings, we're really earthlings, as I've said before. But we are here to dream into and to live into the new. And this was a favorite thing of Barbara Marx Hubbard, especially when she got to be close to 90. She didn't quite make it, but she was looking forward to being 90, because she'd always say, I feel newer every day. So regardless of how old we are, how long we've been around, we have the agency to feel and to be newer every day. Just as every day is a new day. So we are here to consciously evolve. We are here to change, to be free, to express our freedom, to work hard, to innovate, and yes, even to indulge. It's all part of evolving. Barbara Marx Hubbard also said that the human species is a work in progress, that we are evolving to higher complexity, higher order, and greater freedom of choice to create or to destroy. So the country nor the planet are static. Never have been and never will be. And nor is humanity static. We're always changing, evolving, growing, etc. So with that, as evolving Americans, and even the notion of borders, if we're earthlings, the notion of borders is an abstraction and perhaps even an untruth. But nevertheless, as Americans, evolving Americans, we are here to exercise our God-given charter to evolve. And it's truly, evolution is the thing we cannot not do. Evolution is a thing that we cannot not do. So with that, I invite us to move into meditation on these ideas, these freedoms, these innovations, these indulgences. So just start by taking a few deep breaths, close your eyes. Just feel yourself present here and now. Allow the gravity of the earth to hold you gently and lovingly on the spot where you're seated. And just feel yourself embodied. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And really focus on the feeling of your body just being held on earth. And I like to remind us that feeling grounded, feeling the gravity of the earth holding us here, this is the common bond we all share, not only in America, but all over the world. So at this very moment, every being on earth is literally on earth, held on earth by the gravity of the planet. So we share this as a common connection right now. We all have this in common, without doubt. And then I invite us to meditate on what the meaning of liberty is to you. What kind of agency do you claim for yourself? How do you express and live your beliefs? Your faith in the divine? And then to go even deeper into that concept, how does the way you regard your liberty, or the way you embrace your liberty, bring you comfort and strength? How is liberty your North Star? How does liberty give you everything that you need to feel and to live newer every day? And then through the power of your individual consciousness, and then through the power of our collective consciousness, let us hold the highest thoughts with respect to our evolution and the way that we provide and play our role in the evolution of humanity. And that we are endowed with the liberty and the freedom to contribute as we are so led and in accordance with our own genius and talents. Understanding that no contribution is too small, and that merely by living as spiritual beings in this human experience, we trust that we are guided to fulfill one or more purposes, not only in this country, but on this planet. So let us take these truths, these thoughts, this energy, this consciousness, and meditate upon it for a few moments in the silence.
we are endowed with the freedom to feel newer and to be newer every day. We embrace change as opportunity. And we place our faith, our trust, our hope in the omnipresence of the divine to support us, to guide us through our doubts and fears, to ensure that we are sustained and protected and supported in all that we do to contribute to the conscious evolution of humanity. Grateful for being endowed with the Christ capacities that remind us and that allow us to express our spiritual powers in this human experience. And for all this, we are indeed grateful. And we declare it to be so. Amen and amen.
Amen.